I always write these things as warnings, but they seem to become like training manuals. So I'll leave that to them to
Yeah,
choose.
well, that is a widely shared scene from the end of season 2 of Veep, where fictional Vice President Selena Myers learns that the president has decided not to run for a second term. If you haven't seen it, Veep revolves around the scheming and gaffe-prone Myers, wonderfully played by Julia Louis-Dreyfus and her equally incompetent team of advisors. The HBO show ran for 7 seasons from 2010 to 2019 and won several Emmys, and it's still available to watch on Sky and Now TV. Its creator is Armando Iannucci, who joins us now. I suppose just massive congratulations. And was it a little bit spooky when you saw it all coming good in real time?
Yeah, I don't know how to feel about that. You say congratulations, but it makes me rather nervous because, when we come up with these storylines from the starting point of, what's the craziest thing that can happen? And so when real life catches up, it just concerned me rather.
Okay, so does it concern you because there are other things that you have written about in a comedic way that are truly horrendous that we should all now be going, oh my God?
Oh, well, of course, I know how it all pans out. There's only season 3. I think it's more that this struck me actually when we were researching for Veep. Everyone was very welcoming in Washington. They showed me around. They showed me around the West Wing, but they kept referencing the TV show The West Wing. So Obama was the president, and his body man, which is the Gary character in the show, his body man would show me places like the Roosevelt. You'd say this is the Roosevelt room. This would be where CJ and Josh would discuss Bartlett. I'm thinking, but you are CJ and Josh. Why? And it's like they think the television version is much more interesting and real than them. And I think now what has happened is, especially Trump himself, he is a live performer rather than a politician. Even once he cheated death, his first instinct was to stand up and get a photo taken of the moment.
Yeah,
That
but do you
becomes
know what?
symbolic.
So much comedy lies in the detail, as you well
Mm.
know. The first thing that he did, Armando, was to ask to get his shoes back on, which,
Yes,
when you
that was,
hear, you do think, okay, this is really bizarre, because he goes, my
yeah.
shoes, I need my shoes. So before he stood up, he was thinking, from top to bottom, I need to look the part. That's
Yeah, but
quite
also,
bizarre.
did they come and take off his shoes? Was that the first thing they?
Well,
They were up there pretty quickly, and in that time, someone was in charge of removing his shoes for someone.
yeah.
I think it's because they have to pick. The training is actually physically pick them up and run off with them. But I don't think he wanted that to be filmed.
No, of course not.
But yes, and we did do a squeaky shoe episode of Veep when she has just become president. But anyway, that's for another day.
Oh, I haven't watched that episode. Oh, no, I'm not going to bother.
No,
It's a total spoiler, that one. Never
the
mind.
whole thing ends badly.
Oh, does it? Okay. In that case, I'll go
Do you know if Kamala Harris and her team have watched Veep?
Oh, they have. In fact, we did. They have this annual horror show called the Correspondence Dinner, where the president is expected to be funny, and usually they also make a funny little film. And when Obama was doing his last one, we did a Biden and Julia as Selena did a Ferris Bueller's Day Off film as they went around, knowing that everyone was at the Correspondence Dinner, so they were running around Washington. So it is watched in the White House, and I know that Harris's team has referenced it as well. It's become part of the. I mean, I always write these things as warnings, but they seem to become like training manuals. So I'll leave that to them to
Yeah.
choose what.
But what does that do to you as the writer? Because, some people might be a bit bowled over by that, and you're all ending up in the same soup, and it might be a bit difficult to carry on, being acerbic and being cynical, which
Well,
lies at the heart of your comedy.
I stopped doing Veep after season 4 because I just, for me, I'd taken it as far as I wanted, and I was so glad because Trump came along after that, and the team that took it over, I think, found it hard to kind of adjust to that weirdly different world where there were no rules. And suddenly I stopped doing the thick of it when it started being quoted in Parliament, because again I thought, it's not there for fun. It's there to tell us, look, this is what happens when things don't work. So what do you want to do about it?
Yeah.
I think we should move on and do something else.
And in that regard, is Trump just so bizarre and his relationship with the truth just so wrong that you can't really satirize him? Has he
Well,
taken it to a place where it's so not funny because it's real?
yes, I mean, I refer to him as a self-basting satirist in that he is his own commentary on himself, and there's no point trying to out Trump. But to be serious, what he's doing is infecting the whole body politic with this notion that it's a bit of an entertainment. I mean, his convention was more an anointing of some divine. I mean, he literally said that God had, swerved the bullet. He's now God's chosen one. He's an immortal. And everyone, it was like some evangelical Billy Graham rally rather than a kind of serious attempt to discuss quite contentious political agendas. And we mustn't take our eye off it. It's up to, call them what you like, commentators, funny comedians, satirists, whatever. But I think it's important to keep reminding people of what are the consequences of elections like this. What are they actually going to do, or what are they saying they're going to do, and remind people rather than divert everyone's attention onto the kind of absurdity. I mean, we can see the absurdity.
Yeah.
People who vote for
So,
Trump know he's absurd. I mean, that's all part of the deal. They
sure.
know.
But where do we go then in order to do exactly that? If Trump becomes beyond parody, then where can we kind
Well,
of fuel our sense of indignation?
look at people like Jon Stewart and Bill Maher and our own John Oliver out in America. They've become uh, serious journalists and yet funny. They use their platform, but they have a huge team of resources of people looking at the archives, looking at researching, looking at what this person said 3 months ago and now what they're doing now. And they lay out the sequence of events in a funny way, but they talk you through what has actually happened. So you get a chance to see, the wider context while having a laugh. And I think that's an interesting, I think it's an inevitable switch, really, because there's no point doing there are terrific Trump impressions around, but there's no point just doing that, because as I say, we know what he's like. It's now about what's an interesting, entertaining way of just pointing out the twists in logic, the deception that are being deployed in party platforms in America.
Yeah. And actually, I mean, Jon Stewart has been very effective recently about Biden, hasn't he? He did a
Yeah,
fantastic thing where a lot of
yeah,
Biden's supporters and people around him had been
yeah,
filmed by the Democrats saying he's in great health, he's absolutely
yeah.
100%. And they did a wonderful montage. And then Jon Stewart just looks at the camera and said, you would have thought they'd actually film him doing that and show us.
Well, in
Because,
the end, it was filmed, and we are now where we are. It was the debate that led
yeah.
to, but his point is because he made those criticisms, and he was attacked by for it on social media and from Democrats, and we've got to get away from this thing that if we make a joke, um, we must take it back if suddenly people are offended, because it turned out he was right because he'd done his research. He'd argued it through and he'd forensically examined it and he put his argument together. And we mustn't be alarmed or backtrack as soon as someone pops up on social media and attacks you, because that's just one person.
Do you
Thinking that
feel it though,
millions of people.
as a writer, if you get quite a big backlash, what do you do with that?
Well, I don't. I mean, I don't respond. I don't engage with, commentaries. Any journalist who's had a piece online will know the terror of looking below the article and seeing the online comments.